Okay, so we had a plumbing pipe burst in the ceiling in the attic today. It was one of the ones that it runs the whole house. So it's the old pipe. These are very difficult to replace sometimes because what they are is one pipe with two screw-ins, one on each side. So when you try to unscrew one side, you're screwing in the other. You can't actually remove these pipes without cutting them. So what ends up happening is you cut them and you put in new. You can use PEX. I prefer copper, especially because it's easy to do. It's a little more expensive, but if you do the work yourself, it's not really a big deal. So I cut this pipe where I feel like later I can join this, where I can do my work upstairs. They say measure twice, cut once. I prefer copy the old into the new. So I'm going to use them instead of measuring, and it'll be the same. The other thing to note is what I did was I've got one copper pipe, and I've already done two solders, but I soldered a tip onto one side and a tip onto the other side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this right now. I'm going to cut it this side probably to this length, and then I'll use the other side and I'll cut the other one to the other length, and then I'll use a coupling. So that way I can screw in this side clockwise, I can screw in the other side clockwise, and then right there in the middle I can use a coupling and solder it. I really don't like soldering in an attic so close to all the wood with all the other stuff going on. It's hard as compared to being outside and standing and being able to do stuff. So I'm going to show you guys how to do the solder out here by putting on this coupling on one of the two, right? And then upstairs, after I screw them in, I'll have the other side. I'll only have to solder once because I've already got all the other stuff ready to go. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by cutting this piece, and I'm going to cut it, let's see, I probably should have broken this loose first, but what I could also do is just take this, I don't know if, let's see, there we go. So I'll take this, I'll spin it on, okay, and now I've got the old one that I can put right next to the new. So that's where I'm going to cut it, right there. Okay, I don't have my marker, so I'm just going to use a little flux, and I'm going to say that is where I'm going to cut it. Really, you should be using a pipe cutter to do it. I'm just going to use a grinder because that's what I have with me. You know what? Let me pause this. Let me go see if I have a pipe cutter. All right, so I had one actually. So this is what it looks like. Very simple to use. I'll slide this over. So you're gonna put it on wherever you're planning on cutting. I'm gonna double check this one more time. So right here, I'm cutting there. Okay. So I'm putting it here. I'm gonna tighten it. And what I'm gonna do, make sure it's straight, is spin it like this until it becomes kind of easy to spin. All right, so it just lightened up. So now I'll tighten it a little more. Spin some more, it's going to end up falling. Spin some more until it lightens up. Just lightened up, so now I'll tighten it again, like that. Spin some more. until it lightens up. Then I'll tighten it again. Spin it some more. And then it broke. Okay? Super easy. You can use a grinder for it also. It doesn't really matter. But the trick is that there's a spinning wheel on the inside right there. So each time you spin and it cuts through a little bit, you tighten. So you can do, you know, a super thick pipe just by slowly spinning. So that's good. So now I know that I want to use this end. I'm going to pause in a minute to fix this light issue that I'm having. And we will resume on this guy. Pause. Let me pause you. Okay. So now we're ready to do our solder with the torch. Okay. So what you need is a couple different things. Obviously, you need the parts you're going to use. You also need flux. If you're doing a pipe that's potable, not sprinkler or like whatever outside. If you're doing something in your house, you need lead-free solder. No lead. You also need flux. Okay. A brush. Some sandpaper. Wire brush. You need some type of propane torch or other torch. I like propane torches. They work really well. Great. And then at the very end, you'll need a rag, which I don't have with me. I'll grab one later. All right. So before I put this on like this, okay, I need to brush it out. So for this side, I use this. You can also just use a sandpaper, but it'll take you a lot longer. So I use this guy, I stick it in, and I spin. And I'm also spinning a little further up just because, but you should see the difference even now. And I'll give it just kind of however many I'm feeling. See the difference? Okay. Then I'll give it some sanding. And then I'll clean it. Done. That looks pretty good. I don't know how well you can see it, but to me that looks decent. So that's the male end. Female end, you're going to do the same thing with this guy. So I go in here like that, and then I brush the inside. So I'm probably going to brush both of the insides right now, just because when I get this on the other, or when I get this on, I'm not going to want to clean it upstairs. So I'll probably just do this part now. And then I'll switch sides, same thing. I don't typically brush the inside with, or sandpaper the inside, so I'll just clean it. Okay. So the inside is now good. All right. Now I'm ready for this part. So first, well, I guess I'm not ready. First, I'm gonna put on flux. Okay, so I got my brush. I got flux. And I'm going to apply it super easily. Liberally or whatever, it doesn't really matter how much you put on, but I like to put quite a bit because they're you know, it'll just kind of burn. So I'll put it on the male side, and I'll put it on the female side. And when I do the torch for the other one, I will probably add more flux for that side. I just didn't want to have to sand it with the brush while it was already welded on or soldered onto another one. So, all right. Goes without saying, but make sure you put the side you just fluxed on. Right? So that one's good. Okay, so this is the side I fluxed. There's some dirt in it. So I'll add more flux. You really don't want dirt or any type of contaminant at all. If you can see it, that's a big problem. Okay, so now I'll put this on here like so. Okay, now I'm ready to torch. Now, when I torch, there's a couple things to note. The first is, I'll torch the whole thing, sure, but mainly I'm torching this part, okay? Because what that's gonna do is make this part grow a little bit. So when I put my flux in, when it cools down, it'll suck it in, and it'll close that loop. And it'll make for a better seal with your solder. The second thing is I put my torch on the bottom, and the reason why is because when I put my torch on the bottom, it seems to heat the whole thing faster and more easily. So I will burn it from the underside for the most part. So this, and I'm not really worried about this tag. It'll probably burn off while I'm doing it. I could take it off, maybe. But it's pointless. It's just gonna burn off. So I will do that. I'll put that guy here like this. Okay. You want to be really careful when you're putting on the solder not to let your arm underneath when you're putting this on. So in order to avoid doing that, what I'll do is I'll pull it out and I'll put it up like that so my hand's not underneath, because if that stuff falls, I actually burned myself earlier. So it's better to just do this where your hand's not next to it. So, all right, so let's take a crack at this here. So I'll also test it and see if it's hot enough yet by putting this up to the pipe. It's still not hot enough, so keep going. Okay, so now it's hot enough. So I'll go ahead and put this on. And basically all you're doing is just going around it. And it should melt right on. You can also just spin it if you want. I'm not the greatest at soldering, so I usually do a couple of coats. That just helps me do a better job. I'm not sure why I'm not that great at it, because if I was sure, then I'd be better at it. But I'll go ahead and do it again. I don't really think there's such a thing as too much flux, especially because afterwards I'll wipe it off with the rag. So I'm not really worried about it. It would be better if I was able to just one and done go. I'd be a professional plumber, but realistically, as long as it seals, it doesn't really matter to me. Now, obviously, when I'm in the attic, I'll have problems doing it like I'm doing it right now. But that's also why I'm trying to do as many joints as possible not in the attic. Because if I do have a leak up there, I'll know exactly which one it is, and it's gonna be the one that I did up there. And then I'll just have to repeat the process. So that joint is pretty good. Now what I'll do is I'll wait for it to cool down, and after it cools down, I'll take a rag and I'll just kind of go around it like this and kind of clean it up. Some people add flex right now to try and smooth out the joints a little bit. I don't do that because what I just did went in and I don't need to worry about cracks. So if I add flux and I'm cooling it off and I'm trying to move stuff around, I might create a crack. But doing it how I did, I know there won't be any cracks. So, well, hopefully. So the next thing I'm gonna do is the other side. So I've got this side right here. Let's see if I can back this camera up. So I've got this side right here, right? And this is the other one that I haven't done yet. And what I'm gonna do is, presumably, if I put this one next to the old and I measure the same exact length, which is right there, I'm going to have the same piece going back in, right? I have a little bit of flexibility to push if I need to because the other pipe, but I would rather have it a little more compressed than less compressed. So I'm gonna cut it, when I took the grinder to this, I cut it on the long side, and then I also have this, the coupling. I'd rather be a little long than a little short, obviously, right? Because I can cut just an inch off or a 1/4 inch off or an 1/8 off or, you know, a 1/16 off, however much I need to, but I can't add. So I'm gonna go a little on the, I'm gonna cut it at the, see how this is kind of angled? I'm gonna cut it this length. So it'll be about maybe a 1/4 inch overall longer than the original plus the coupling, and then it'll be good. Ooh, I need this guy. So I'll measure. All right. Measure one more time, just because it felt like it moved. All right, now that it's clamped on, you probably couldn't see that because of how it was, but now that I've got that clamped on, I'll check one more time. So I've got that. That looks good. So I should be ready to go. So I'm gonna cut this Not sure if you can see what I'm doing or not. Yeah, you can. Till it gets easy. Tighten it. Tighten it some more. Alright. So now I've got two pieces. Ooh, that's still hot. I've got two pieces that replicate the two pieces that I cut off. I've got the male ends that'll screw in, I've got these parts, and I've got the coupling, and I'll just be able to, boom, join them. So what I'll do upstairs is I'll tighten this one in, and I'll tighten this one in, and then they'll be like this next to each other, and I'll lift them up just a hair to sink them into each other, and then I'll do the same exact soldering that I just did, which I'm not going to record. But that's how, if you don't want to use PEX tube in your house and you need to replace a steel pipe, that is how you can do it with copper. And obviously copper is great from what we currently know with our health stuff in 2025. So this is all good. Thank you very much.